We're learning tonight that Wichita State University preparing for budget cuts that will include staff reductions. Wichita State sending a letter to staff and faculty saying it will make at least a 3% budget cut next year and reduce workforce. President Rick Muma says that even though the university saw record enrollment this fall, it did not translate into revenue growth, partly due to lower enrollment of international students as well as high school students. They also said that state funding is not keeping pace. Some staff members have already received, though, termination letters. We spoke to some of them who wish to remain anonymous. They say at least 7 employees in the College of Engineering were informed that their positions are being eliminated due to the budget constraints. They added that they're disappointed the university and President Muma have not been more transparent with the public and the employees affected. WSU says it plans to review cost-saving and revenue-generating strategies in the spring and update the community on any changes.